The place I went to as an American was somewhere I was told, do not go there by our U.S. Department of State. In fact, another U.S. operator backed out when he learned that it's considered a level 4 red zone, and the Department of State and the embassies will do nothing to help me in the event of any disasters. So let me just put that out there. I know a lot of people are itching to go to lunch. I won't keep you long. I have a tendency to go long, so I'm going to cut to the chase quickly, which is the challenges. As most of you know, you chase the DX, you get your contact, you tune the dial. A lot goes on behind the scenes that you don't know about. Sure, we all use antennas. That's the group of us for the obligatory picture. People from 8 countries, 14 operators from 8 countries. We're all there with our respective country flags. Like everybody else, we gathered before. We had a nice meal in Milan. A lot of people came from different places to meet at the Arbusto clubhouse, which hosted the Mediterranean DX Clubs group, which Vlad was a part of, by the way. You'll see him in some of the photos as we go through, but I'm going to try to go through it quick. Like every other expedition, we travel, we have a lot of stuff. We go through the usual airport chaos. We have to move all our things. That's me sitting there having a drink while somebody's loading up one of our 2 vehicles that brought us there. That's the other, that was the van that brought us and equipment. I don't think that van should have been on the road. It didn't handle the roadways, which are dirt roads with potholes, which may or may not have been from bombs, because Burkina Faso is constantly a battle zone for people looking to take control. There's coups annually. You could count on a coup, sometimes twice in a year. We were lucky we had a pretty good, stable president. We had to take all of our equipment out at the customs and have it investigated to make sure we're not smuggling anything in that we shouldn't be bringing to the country, and to ensure, because they'll check us on the way out, and they did, that everything that we bring is taken out when we leave. We're not allowed to leave anything, even antennas. Now, as Vlad mentioned, he left some stuff. We couldn't leave anything. We had to account for it all. But we packed very well. It was a very well-organized expedition. This is just some pictures of the city of Ouagadougou, if I'm saying that correctly. That's the best I can say, taken from the transport there. We were also told not to take too many pictures, but some folks snuck some pictures anyway from the phones. We got a couple of them. Here we're trying to squeeze our bus into the lodging area. Let me put my glasses on so I could read something else. So after a short ride from customs, we got to our hotel, which was a French hotel built before the people of Burkina Faso decided to throw the French government out, who had colonized them in the past. So this hotel happened to be really well made. I would call it a 4-star hotel. It's not that bad. You'll see some photos inside. It also happened to be adjacent to the presidential palace, which probably was a strategic move back when it was built. And it was both a benefit because of the security, but a detriment because of the target being the presidential palace and the coups. Here it is, the Hotel Le Grand Gallo. As you can see, it's got a nice little pool, some areas to sit. That's a spider beam in the distance. As every other expedition, we use antennas, we use radios and amplifiers. So this is an hour-and-a-half story cut down to 20 minutes. So keep in mind that we do all the same stuff. We have a lot of fun doing it, but the fun parts aren't always what you think they are. Here's a couple of the guys, the calls are listed, enjoying the pool. I was sitting off to the side. I don't like to jump in the pool. I didn't bring swim trunks, and because of arthritis, swimming is not my friend. But I did go through it once. They forced me to go in one time. We had some really good food there. The dining area, which is the light you see in the left-hand picture, that it says relaxing by the pool, that's where we ate and met and did all our business. There's a little sample of a light lunch, and then the usual chow line for dinner. The service at the hotel was really good. The people there are terrific. So those who are not involved in the governmental conflict are the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. I mean, really. And they were so happy to host us. We really appreciated that. There's a list of our equipment, just so I could say I told you about it. I loved using the 590 radios. The ACOM amps were great. My favorite aspect of it was learning about spider beams, as Vlad used and many others do. I never used a spider beam before, but I really liked it. Two other antennas, which I'll allude to later, was a 30-inch satellite dish and a big dual-band Yagi for the, I think it was a 2-meter and Endor 440 for the EME. First time EME and QO100 were done from XT2, by the way, for those who keep those kind of statistics. There I am helping putting up some of the beams. There's a couple of them. We were able to put antennas wherever we wanted. So we put one right in the main gathering area. And there were other guests at the hotel. Locals come to the hotel, too. There are some people of affluence who can come to this hotel. It wasn't inexpensive, let me tell you that. But it's the antennas are really good, RF quiet, and good gain in and out. Some more photos of antenna work. That's not a drone shot in the center. That's somebody on the roof doing some other work. We did have antennas from 6 through to 160. The 160 didn't do well because we had a lot of noise. There was a generator or a transverter or a transformer for an electrified fence. You'll notice in the left-hand photo, there's a wall. That wall had 2 rows of barbed wire, which were electrified. You could see that same wall wraps around the whole perimeter. We were literally encased in a compound that was fortified back when it was built. And the accommodations were little huts, as you see in the right picture. And that device you see on the roof is what made hot water, because it's always sunny there. It may rain 3 days in a year. When it does, it comes down hard and floods the place. But otherwise, there's no rain. It's just sun, sun, and more sun until it's dark, and then more sun. So the sun is used to heat the water. Here's our friend Emil. I'm sure a lot of you DXers know our good buddy Emil, DL8 Juliet, happily pointing his antenna at the moon, and happy to be the first guy to do EME from XT2, as well as the satellite work, which we had just that one 30-something inch antenna dish that was there. A couple of operators, that's the SSB station. We do a little plug for our friend Carl at DX World. You see a little poster for him there. I sat in the left-hand chair when it was my shift. We did 3 shifts of 3 hours each with 6-hour intervals. And they were staggered. They weren't the same daily. So getting regular sleep and eating regularly was one of the challenges, because every 2 days, we were there for 12 days. So every 2 days, your shift would move 3 hours forward. And then you'd have to do, 3 on, 6 off, 3 on, 6 off, 3 on, and so on. And it kept moving. There's a nice shot of the illumination. That's our side of the compound wall, separation wall. The illumination of it is the bright lights coming from the presidential palace on the other side of that wall. That killed our most of 40, a lot of 80, and a lot of 160. We barely were able to beg them to shut it off sometimes during the day, but 80 and 60 during the day is almost useless. 40 is good early morning, late afternoon, but for the lower bands, it didn't go. Now here's the meat and potatoes, where everything changed and makes this an interesting story. I'm going to read what I wrote, because now I have some time. You guys read what's on the screen, because that doesn't pay for me. But all was going well, and we'd almost forgotten about the world outside of our compound while working pile-ups or resting. I got to get this thing to scroll a little bit better. Give me a second. I don't see the notes well. I would have liked to position the notes on the right, Brian, instead of on the bottom. So, on the 6th day, we got a taste of the real world there. Just after lunch, a group of very serious men, 3 of them in suits and carrying badges, came in and shut us down. we were instructed to get our passports and visas and gather at the office. We were grilled for a while about our operation before having our rooms and belongings searched. After 3 hours or so, they gave us back our papers and said goodbye. We thought it was all clear and went back to business. Hold on a minute. Just after dark, those same 3 men came back and had us disconnect and load our equipment into their trucks. Everything except the coax and antennas. I mean everything. Foot pedals, barrel connectors, tools, everything that we had in our operating rooms or in our staging area except the coax and the antennas had to get packaged and put into their trucks, and they took it. The next day they came for the antennas and wire and us. They came with what I would call a luxury tour bus. We had to put all the antennas and coaxial cable into the luggage bin. Remember that, Vlad? And take this bus to the police station. We didn't know what we were in for, so those of us who need medicine brought all our meds for a few days, some bottled water, charges for the cell phone if they'd let us do it, because you don't know how long you're going to be detained by these people who are trying to beat their chest and exert power. Meanwhile, we did have all the proper paperwork and licensing, which was strange. So, while we're at the police station, the team leader and our logistics man, Antonio and Dario, met with the chief of the police, and we showed our licenses for the activity and all the correspondence in getting the permits to access and the licenses and the hotel reservations. Then about 20 minutes later, we were sent back with apologies. Antonio came out smiling, and apparently there was a misunderstanding between the people who issued the license and the permit to do it and the police. They don't talk to each other there because they're all trying to be in charge. And when you have something like that, you don't really have a good situation in a third world country where there's no legitimate coordination. So after verifying all our documents, they promised our equipment would follow soon, but we didn't see that until later on. While going to the station, though, many people called their respective embassies, and being the sole American there, I was refused help by our U.S. Embassy, which is down the block from the police station, literally. Right down the block. You could see the building if you stand out in the street. They said, "We told you not to go, Mr. Gallo. Why are you there?" It's everywhere it says, "Do not go," risk on your own. I said, well, you only live once. Boy, you can only get to die once, right? Why not have fun doing both? So that was my thought. And the embassy representative says, "You're an odd fellow, but we still can't do anything for you. If you get arrested, you have to engage your own lawyer, and that's all going to be on you." I said, well, I don't think we're getting arrested, but we're having a hell of a time. But thankfully, the Italian embassy sent a consular representative, and the German embassy sent somebody who came very quickly because all the embassies are in that main city. It's not a big place, probably a couple of square miles for the main city where all the action is, the business center. So that worked out well. I got to click back in here. Hold on a minute. That worked out well for us. So with our equipment taken, we relaxed outside, out of the sun, under that shady canopy. We watched TV. They actually had a satellite TV there. A lot of sports was on, and I'm not used to the European sports. There was soccer all the time, but there was also a lot of advertisements by the military trying to recruit people, showing young men and women in military garb and machine guns dancing around like it's a party for them, having a festival. Almost like, if you guys remember MTV in the past, they were doing music videos of very serious and angry looking people dancing around with guns, shooting off guns like crazy, and just having a grand old time, being an Army person. And I thought, boy, that's a fun place to live. But here's something, as a New York Italian, I know pizza. Who'd have thought I would have flown a day's worth of airtime to have pizza? Eating is, of course, a great way to spend your downtime. What's that? Oh, wait a minute. Why am I not seeing the screen? Brian, what happened? Brian. Hold on, let me go to slideshow from current slide. Something happened. There you go. Okay, I fixed it. He fixed it. So we're sitting around eating, and now you see the pizza. Okay. So we'd almost forgotten about the world outside the compound walls while working the pileups and resting between the shifts. So I'm still reading the last notes. And there we are. All right, so eating's a great way to kill the time. You may guess by looking at me, I know my way around a pizza because I've been eating pizza in New York City since I'm born, and I'm here quite some time. I would rate this African blend of pizza in the top 10 for taste, and for some reason it just keeps changing. But the pictures tell the story, I know that. I got a little bit of time. I got some time, but it's just not working out for me too well. And if I can't get my slides to work with the comment there, and it's not showing for some reason from current slide. You see it? Yeah, okay. There you go. All right, we want to back up then. All right, so there we are. The pizza was really good. Now, here we go. All right, so I've always had a serendipitous kind of a life. But meeting this man was the greatest luck we could have had. You see me shaking hands with a fellow who looks like he's a local, and he is. It was in his influence, in our opinion, that got us back on the air that very night after we met him. It turned out that he was not only the uncle of the current president, he happened to be very involved in Boy Scouts, which I am also in New York City. We've got a lot of scouts in New York City. When he was telling a story to the group of us, when he mentioned that besides, he's the uncle of this President Traore, and he's been for the last 40 years the chief scout of the Boy Scout organization of Sub-Saharan Africa. I got up to shake his hand as a thank you for his service to the youth there, because they really need it. The kids in that area really need to have a way out of the temptation to be one of those crazy militaries or a street criminal, of which there are many. So the shared support of the program, I think, helped close the deal in getting, now I can't get the mouse to move, in getting him, it's not working out too well, Brian, getting him to have his nephew use his influence to get our equipment back. They let us go, as I mentioned, but getting our equipment back was the key to it. We got back on the air that night the equipment came about 11 p.m., We quickly put up a couple of spider beams and 2 radios to get back on the air with CW and SSB, which is my party. At the end of the adventure, we were able to, thanks again to our new relationship with the relative of the boss of the country, they gave us that same luxury bus. Yeah, you too. See, they're telling me hurry up. The same luxury bus that I think it was a Russian-built bus, really beautiful, that came to get us to take us to the police station, also was given to us to bring back at no additional fee. Much better than that rickety half bus that we took going there. It survived the roads a lot better too because of its good suspension. So there we are, happy. You see us all smiling. I'm sitting in the background smiling. I don't know. I think the front man. Paco is his name. He's an Italian from Spain, took the selfie photo. We happened to meet the team of V55 LA in the airport, the transfer airport in Ethiopia. I think it's called Addis Ababa Airport. It seems a lot of the African expeditions come and go through that airport because no other countries have the direct flights. So we somehow met one of the guys in a restaurant who said, yeah, we're over here with the rest of the team. And we all went to meet and take a group photo. Strangely, our intent was to meet them while we were going. We knew we were going to cross paths in that airport going there for the same amount of time. But that didn't happen because our flight from Malpensa Airport in Milan was delayed almost an hour and a half. So when we got to Ethiopia, our group, 14 of us, had to run to get onto our next plane, which was leaving shortly, while the baggage was scurried over. Fortunately, we didn't lose any equipment. We were able to maintain all of our items as opposed to losing some. They did a great job there. That airport is probably one of the best airports I've ever seen, next to Zurich Airport, for efficiency and comfort, air-conditioned. Really nice. So we were happy to meet the Norwegians there who spent the same amount of time on the other side of Africa. I think it was V55. Is that Namibia? I think it is. And then this is us back at the Milan airport, Malpensa. The club that hosted us came to pick us up. And we were very happy to finally be back. We all grabbed some espresso. There's a couple of guys holding up the Burkina Faso flag, which my shirt's built around their flag, which makes a nice impression for them. And let's get to the stats that we all want to know. We did, with the 3 days lost, so out of the 11 days we planned to be there, we lost 3 of them. We made over 77,000 total Qs with a good ratio of 21,000 some odd uniques. The way we've tried to do that is using the live stream. We didn't use Club Log. We had some proprietary software that the Mediterranean DX Club has compiled themselves for logging and putting it live on the web as we go. So I think using a live stream log helps a lot in reducing dupes. I mean, there's a lot of people want band fills, so you're always going to have less uniques than Qs. But I think because of the fact that we weren't getting a lot of band mode dupes for people trying to get insurance or they weren't sure, and we had great conditions, by the way. So when I only do sideband, so if I heard your call sign and I repeated it back to you correctly, and I would just say next, we didn't have to have any more dialogue because it's really not necessary. My opinion as a DX operator, as a chaser too, is once you know you're in the log, you go away. We don't need to know your name, where you are, your signal report. If we hear each other, signal reports mean nothing. Your name will show up later if we ever need to know, and everybody knows who we are because it's listed on the web, so you know who you're talking to, especially a lot of the folks who've heard me in the past. I have a unique voice and a unique style of operating, so I'd like to ask, while I'm talking about that, how many in the room have gotten XT2MD in their log? Oh, a good group. How many did it in sideband? Okay, how many recognize my voice? There you go. I remember your call too because I know you well, Otis. But it was a lot of fun, and I do like to engage people. I do know because it really is a fun thing. It's a game for us all. So when I'm trying to keep a rate of 8 to 10 Qs a minute, which is pretty good in good conditions, if I hear a friendly call, I'll stop the pile up cold and say hi and talk to you for a while. So keep that in mind as we get to know each other better. I have no problem saying, hang on, people, QRX a minute. Let me say hi to my friend. So that's always something that makes it fun for me. Because if it's not fun for me, it's not worth doing. And as you know from hearing a lot of stories, we put a lot more into it than what you see on the web or what you hear to talk. You may read some news on the internet with, all the DX news channels on Facebook or the subscriptions, but a lot more goes into it. So if I'm not going to have fun doing it, I'm not going to put in the time, effort, or put the money into it. Anyway, 21,700 uniques. Here's the mode breakdown. I'm happy to say that FT8 wasn't 3 to 4 times more the human modes than normal. We focused on the CW and the sideband. We had some great operators, Vlad being one of our excellent CW ops, myself and quite a few others, 3 or 4 others running the SSB like crazy. I was volunteering to cover shifts or let people sleep because I'm going there to play radio. I'm not there as a tourist. Even though we're in a nice, luxurious place, my goal is to be on the radio because that values my expense and time to go there to do what I like to do. If I want to go swimming in a pool or eating fancy places, I can do that anytime without bringing a radio. But if there's a radio near me, my goal is to be on it. So we did pretty good with the human modes, neck and neck between CW and sideband, and just a small percentage more of the digitals. We did get in some other digitized modes, and that made a lot of people happy. I'm seeing I'm down to a few minutes. Our next adventure is 3 Charlie 2 Mike Delta coming this fall. I must always thank our sponsors. I'm not going to name them. You could read them. It's the usual suspects who give us equipment and funding. And lastly, and very importantly, you see that sign behind our moderator? I'm the pilot for this operation, which I know all of you are waiting for desperately. 3Y0K is coming up in February of 2026. Please support our friends by going to the website and making a donation. Anything helps. The budget for this is 1.6 million plus, the most expensive expedition in the history of expeditions ever, and probably for a long time into the future. There's a great team of 24 operators who are ready to make it happen. The plan to make it happen is terrific. Some of them are in this room. One of them is back there. One of the leaders is back there. Some other folks who are going are sitting nearby. And it's also, of course, it's IOTA. And I, as a Parks on the Air person as well, made it a POTA park when they last went for 3Y0J, and that did very well. And for those who follow the predecessor to POTA, the WWFF, of course, it's part of that too. So if you make the contact, you get the DX, which is super rare. The island also is rare in the parks. Now, those who like all things, you're going to get that. We were hoping to make it a soda, but the guys aren't going to be close enough to the summit because it's dangerous to go on the glacier. So they're at Cape Fee, which is a nice slice of rock up the side of the island that allows for safe camping and operations. And the plan is very well organized. Visit 3y0k.com and make your donation. Learn more about it. I'm the guy who's going to receive your donation, and I'm the guy who you're going to deal with as they're on the island. As I said, I'm the lead pilot. I've got some assistant pilots on all continents who are really good guys also. So it's going to be a great operation, and I think I'm going to take one question or two because I got a few minutes, but nobody's running to get behind me, right?
Yeah, no, the second part's starting right now.
Right, no, I thought there was a minute or 8 between. All right, any questions right now? Great. That means I was either very thorough or you're bored to tears. So I will be lurking around outside. If you do have any personal questions something pops in your head and you want to ask me, hey, what happened with that? Or how'd you overcome this? Or, why didn't you do this or that? I take complaints, compliments, or questions. I don't care. It's all fun, and we're here to serve you. Thanks a lot. See you next year with the next one.